You are listening to Basement Chronicles with Lisa Dublin, episode number 16, Trust Issues. Hey, you made it! Welcome to my basement. I'm Lisa Dublin, a health and life coach, and I help professional and executive women to live, lead, and speak with confidence. Because you know what? Developing your confidence and deepening your faith in God is the best formula for an amazing life. So, are you ready? Let's go. Hey, podcast listeners, how are you feeling today? You know, at the time of recording this, it is snowing outside. It is late February, and here in Edmonton, winter has decided that it is not going to let us go with a couple last hurrahs. So this is one of them. Notice I'm speaking in the plural because I'm pretty sure it's not going to be the last one before spring finally, raises her lovely smile and says, hey, I'm here. In any case, I hope everything's going well. Let's get into today's podcast. You guys, I recently discovered that I have trust issues. And so it's going to be a very introspective podcast today. Let me set it up for you. I recently had a meeting with a friend who I met in 2020. We met over the ether on the internet. We are from the same country, but we met, just during the pandemic. And, it almost felt like I knew her for a very long time. Of course, coming from the same place, having the same culture will do that. But recently, she was visiting my city, and I went to see her. And it wasn't until she said, it's finally nice to see you for the first time in person, that I realized that I had not seen her in person. And so I said to her, are you sure we haven't met before? It was the funniest thing, because in my mind, she was as much a friend as, my other friends who I know, see, hug, and, all of the things. But that was the situation. And then she began to tell me that, in 2020, we met, we connected very deeply, we prayed together, helped each other through a couple issues. And then something came up that was, in retrospect, wasn't very, very important. And I think we still need to talk about it. But then I did what I usually do. I just simply kind of fell off from the friendship. And sitting there with her and hearing her tell me that action of mine that hurt me and made me think about why I was like that, okay? I've always been that kind of person. I think when I did the podcast Intense Friendships, I did say that I wasn't the touchy-feely person who always needed to be in contact. I think it comes from being an introvert, honestly, and other introverted people will recognize that in me. I do know, however, I do consider her a friend, held her confidences, and I expect that she holds mine. So there's always that with my friends, the sincerity, the being genuine, caring deeply about you, even if my personality is such that I don't need to be talking all the time and being in contact as much as I think a lot of extroverted people do. But it made me think about why I am that way in terms of if anything happens, I am pretty quick to kind of put people in a box. She ended up talking about another friend of hers, didn't mention names, of course, but she was saying to this other friend of hers that if we can't trust each other, we cannot have really sincere and deep connection. Podcast listeners, my beautiful people, the minute she said it, I got convicted. Something shifted in me. Something dropped. Like when you drop like a pebble in a river and you hear plunk. And it, oh my goodness. I sat there and I suddenly felt like I was in some kind of time warp. I felt like I was in another space because what she said at that point about if we cannot trust each other, we cannot have deep connection, it resonated so deeply with me. The reason it resonated so much was because it brought me back to the reason that I think I had trust issues in the first place. I'm only going to bring this up because it is pertinent to what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I would have just kept this like where it belonged in the past. Many years ago, when I was at university, a friend betrayed me very deeply. I have forgiven her, and you tell me if you hear forgiveness in what I'm going to say. It was just simply that, I thought she was my friend, and I had this so-called boyfriend, and I had been hospitalized for a while. And when I came back, I found out that, they had gotten together. And I found out in the meanest of ways. And I realized since that time, I simply put people in one category the minute I meet you. And that category is I will never go past a certain level with you. I just know that I can't trust you fully. Is there anybody out there who feels that way? Like you bury something and you make a decision that is so final that you don't even know that you've made it until somebody like my friend who I met recently brings it to the fore. And then you're like, oh my goodness, is that what I've been doing? And is this where it's coming from? Let me scrabble in my heart, looking for that trap door that I didn't even know existed. That's exactly what happened to me when we met. I realized my go-to when I meet people is that you're never getting past a certain level, ever, 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 ever. And I was convicted because, one, I recognized that there had been some kind of decision I made within me. And the second conviction was the confusion of, okay, I don't even know where to start. And you should have seen me very vulnerable at that point, speaking to her, because I literally just began to cry. And I said, even though she was not speaking about me, I just know, if you are a person of faith, you will recognize when the Holy Spirit is doing stuff. And this was one of those moments when the moment was tender enough to elicit change and revelation. I began to cry and I said, I don't even know where to start. Like I said, I can't trust anybody that way. No, I can't. And I just told her everything. I told her about the incident that had somehow sealed a decision for me not to trust people that deeply ever again. So I told her everything that happened. We prayed. And then I asked the obvious question like a kid. So, how do you do this? How do you begin to trust people? Because I had no grounding for it. I haven't done that. I think the only person I really, really trust right now is my husband. And that's because he makes me feel very safe. I think he's the only one who's gotten past everything else. But where friends are concerned, I don't know that there's anybody I can tell anything right now that I can't tell somebody else. There's nobody who has all my deepest, darkest secrets. And if they spill the beans, I'm toast. No. And I realized a fundamental difference between her and I. And perhaps when I bring on the podcast, you will come to that conclusion as well. She said to me that she begins with trust. I begin with, we're not even going there. But she begins with trust. And when I really look back at how we met in 2020 and the things she shared with me, I never questioned it because I thought she shared them with me because she saw that I'm a Volt. I would not repeat anything and I want the best for you. But the reason she shared those things with me is because she trusts to that degree and because she loves God and knows that God loves her so much that no matter what happens, he will have her back. And she made that very clear. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but one thing happened after that conversation. I gave it to God. I brought it to the altar. I laid it down and I told God, I didn't even know this was there. I reconfirmed I've forgiven this girl from so many years ago and the guy as well. Forgiven them, let them go. So I committed from that day to living and loving bravely. And here's why I'm going to try. I'm not going to try. I am going to live and love bravely. It's going to be an experiment, yes, but an experiment to just measure success because you really can't go wrong in God. The reason I am taking that step in trepidation but bravely is because of 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Do you guys know that chapter about love in the Bible? Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable and it keeps no record of being wronged. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. There, I've got my key. There, I've got the foundation upon which to build solid friendships, to now revisit even my friendships, my present ones that I cherish right now. And I thought were going well. Now I feel like I'm going to start going back to my friends and, having the conversation about what do you think of our friendship? How can I support you? And here's the thing that's going to be hard. And to ask them, how can you support me? You guys, I don't even know how I'm going to deal with that part of it because, the minute you begin to expect from people, I find that is when it gets messy. But that's also when unimaginably beautiful things happen and we sacrifice for each other and we get closer. And so I feel like that will be the next step for me to just go deeply into friendship to the point where it is reciprocal. If I focus on what love is as expressed in 1 Corinthians 13, I literally have everything I need there. That it's patient and kind. Not only will I try to be that way, but I expect it as well. It's not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. So it means I also have some kind of blueprint for behavior that I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to expect. I've never expected. I've simply looked at people. That's where you stop. And once you show your true colors, and I'm putting that now in air quotes because I'm here thinking people show their true colors, not realizing I've been showing my true colors of not caring as well. Oh my goodness. This is so good. So my trust issues, I expect God to help me through them. But here's the thing that I'm happy for, that having looked within me and seen something that needed fixing, I now know where to go for help. Again, I just go back to what God can do in our lives, that you don't need to be afraid of facing yourself, because when you do that, you bring it to Him and you get answers from Him to fix whatever needs to be fixed. I've got trust issues and I've laid them at His altar. I'm going to fix them. I'm going to work on them. I'm going to let Him do the fixing within me. Allow Him to do it. Fall, get up. I'll come back and tell you about the escapades and what I don't like about going so deeply into friendship. So this is the year of loving bravely, you guys, because these trust issues are no longer going to keep me back from enjoying the full tapestry of friendships. No, there's more to life than this aloneness and this loneliness. So this vulnerability today, I hope it helps somebody, because trust issues can be solved. I want to encourage you to go to 1 Corinthians 13. You've got a blueprint for love, on how to love and what to expect. And here's the thing that I used to do. Perhaps it is that if I saw that obviously you're dealing with another human being, you yourself are not perfect, when I saw the cracks, I would simply just shut off, turn my back, move on. God is saying, no, this love is patient, love is kind, whatever. It is like the ideal. It's what you grow into. And if you just continue to shut off people, cut them off, and just move on, you will never be able to journey together towards that ideal. I'm making the decision in loving bravely to continue the process, even in the face of disappointment, betrayal, whatever. We'll see what life will bring. I'd really like your feedback on this episode and also on what you think about love. I'd love to hear what you think about friendship, what you think about love. How have you handled it over the years? How have you and your friends survived and grown and thrived? Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you so much for listening today. Now, I know that you prioritize your growth and success. So if you feel stuck in any area of your life, why don't you consider life coaching? My signature program, How to Get Unstuck Total Transformation, has helped so many professional and executive women to free themselves of limiting beliefs and habits, learn to love and prioritize themselves, set firm boundaries and stick to them, be more confident, move up exponentially in their careers, and become the best versions of themselves. How badly do you want to get unstuck? How badly do you want to be the best version of you? If you desire more, take the first step right now. Go to my website, lisamdublin.com/coaching, and book a consultation with me. Let's talk about your coaching needs, because the life you want is totally possible.